find you in time, Dr. Benjamin Eccles.
Come no closer, Mr. Holmes. The disease is transmitted by contact with the flesh.
It is indeed the theater doctor who is revealed to us, scarcely recognized as human. His countenance is withered like a rotten apple, covered with hideous black boils and pustules that split and pour bile like dirty tears. His lips are cracked and parched with bleeding sores. With a chill shock shooting through my bones, I realize that the rasping, pump-like sound we had been listening to is his own labored breath, wheezing like the wind through a pipe organ. And this knowledge told me that Dr. Eccles had not another hour to live.
You were the one man I feared could have found me, and yet now I feel relief that you have.
The facts as I see them are these. You have returned from Bombay, leaving there a wife, counting her remaining days in some forgotten nursing home. For how else could McCarthy gain footing on your otherwise untarnished life? Your medical career there has been one of research, and from the newspaper accounts from China and India, it is obvious that the plague is the substance of your work. I know from personal experience that you have some success with an antidote. However, there seems to be an extreme time constraint upon its efficacy. This achievement brought you back to England and St. Bartholomew's. From there, you supplemented your days in the laboratory with the nights in the theater as the house doctor at the Savoy, where you met Miss Jessie Rutland.
That was the beginning.
Is there anything we can do for you, Doctor?
Will you hear my confession?
Proceed.
Jessie was the sweetest creature under a bonnet, and we quickly came to love one another. And a man, an ogre, Jonathan McCarthy, told Jessie he knew I was married and extorted from her a twisted ransom, paid not in pounds but in flesh. Jesse's. I confronted him with the shameful deed.
Eccles, you know nothing about the ways of the theater.
No, nor have I ever met such a man in all my travels. I implore you, I beseech you, return to me my life.
Your world.
I beg of you.
You're a good enough fellow, Doctor, but I must warn you, as obviously your mother did not. Stay clear of actresses. They go down faster than the curtain at the Savoy.
McCarthy was still laughing as he left the room, leaving me the opportunity to lace his brandy glass with a baculus of pneumonic plague.
What?
Impossible!
Catastrophic. As the hours ticked by, I came to share your opinion of my deed. In desperation, I found McCarthy en route to the theater.
Please, it is imperative that you meet me this evening.
Off with you, little man.
Please, I warn you, it is of the utmost urgency. It concerns our mutual friend.
Very well. Jack Point, Regent Street.
We parted, leaving me with the full force of my actions. All England had been threatened by my folly.
So you returned to McCarthy's apartment to administer the antidote, but something went wrong.
He wasn't at home.
Where have you been? Your time has ended.
Oh, Jack Point, you're early.
I am too late. Your 12 hours has elapsed, and my antidote may prove worthless.
I told him what I had done. He didn't believe me and laughed at me again.
Infect me with the plague? You're not some scheming Borgia, you're just a jester, a clown, Jack Point. But if I am dying, Doctor, then you must attend your sweet Miss Rutland. Well-named Miss Rutland, for which I have been rutting since last night.
My face must have looked absurd, as Understanding and I finally became fully acquainted. Then I astounded myself by committing a deed I would have sworn unimaginable. I deliberately threw the glass containing the antidote and McCarthy's last chance to the floor, and then I joined him in laughter. Our actions had doomed us all. I seized a letter of Nar
with your right hand and stabbed him with it.
Plague on both your houses. I am sped.
Why the devil came you between us?
As McCarthy collapses to the floor, you watch with equal measures of hatred and horror as the bloody, bawdy villain draws his last breaths. Then, you begin to hide all evidence of your visit. First, to the engagement diary, where you tear off the page dated 28 February, wrongly assuming it contains your name. You move to the fireplace, pick up the poker, and stir the embers to get a proper blaze, and throw the page in. As you stand there, watching the paper burn, you nervously chew your fingernails, and then something happens for which you are not prepared. McCarthy moves, crawls, lurches towards the bookcase. Startled, you drop the poker on the floor, spreading ash, which you proceed to step in with your newly acquired boots from Harrods, distinctive for the singular H stamped upon the heels. You ignore the shattered glass, as well as your smoldering Indian cheroot, and hastily depart in a trail of oxblood leather scuff marks.
How can you know? Yes, my Jessie was now on the wrong side of hope. For several hours, I walked the back streets of London, knowing that what I must do next was the very thing that I could not do.
Slay your love to prevent her suffering a more horrible death.
Yes, Jessie was already dead. She just didn't know it.
Art thou hurt?
Aye, Scratch. Mary, 'tis enough.
I thought it all for the best.
This shall determine that. I did it as tenderly as I could, and I walked round to the front of the theatre and entered as though on my evening tour. I performed an autopsy on the woman I had just slain, while the blood-stained scalpel nestled in my bag under all their noses.
And now my sweet Jessie is but a little way above our heads, and I, presently, to the other place.
You are acquainted with the Bhagavad Gita? I am death, the mighty destroyer of the world.
I have come here to destroy all the people. What have I? Oh, God, have mercy on their souls.
And yours, too, Benjamin Eccles. He's gone. It's over.
Not quite. He has left us with much to do.
Sure?
How disquieting and unsettling has been this gruesome business. A doctor pledged to saving lives who butchers his rival, his true love, and ultimately himself. I learned discipline of Hippocrates on the threshold of scientific breakthrough, who in a fit of jealous rage set loose the plague in Great Britain. The human race saddens me, sometimes in a way that confounds my philosophy. I do thank you, Holmes, for you have solved these murders most foul. But now I must beg my leave. I have had enough of bloodshed and treachery, and wish to return to my sheltered world of words, where cutthroat is merely a figure of speech and only plays are murdered.
And what of you, my friend? There's grim work ahead.
I'll stay.
Then I must ask you, Watson, have you a match?
All theatrical London gossiped about the murder of Jonathan McCarthy, and his killer was never caught. Scotland Yard was also hard put to explain the mysterious death of an actress at the Savoy, as well as the peculiar disappearance of the police surgeon, assorted bodies from the morgue, and one police wagon. Equally curious was the fate of the remainder of these unusual suspects. As for Ahmed Singh...
They tell me I am free. You have done this?
The truth has set you free.
You, Sherlock Holmes, breaker of my shackles from my heart's depths, I thank you.
And so Singh was released, and Inspector Lestrade took the full brunt of the botched arrest. He was not eager for the full-scale panic that would inevitably and tragically ensue with the arrival of the Black Death.
Or am I particularly proud of my part in the arrest of an innocent man?
Guilty only of being brown-skinned.
If you do chronicle this matter, you might just have me appear foolish. I'm not certain the fiction of me is that far a journey.
As for Mr. Oscar Wilde...
Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde, you have been charged under the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 1885 for acts of gross indecency with other male persons.
Thank you, Constable Hopkins.
Sergeant.
Sergeant. My. I'm glad to see someone moving up in the world.
This is not a matter of joking, sir. You've not only broken the law, you've committed a sin.
There is no sin except stupidity. Please do not, dear Sergeant Hopkins, let mere rank diminish your humanity. And as for sin, I shouldn't let it bother you too much. For if your sins find you out, why worry? It's when they find you in that the trouble begins.
I very much fear Mr. Wilde does not realize the gravity of his situation. His bravado can only speed his ruin.
As for Henry Irving and Miss Ellen Terry, their daring revival of Shakespeare's Macbeth... Scottish play was received, at least by this admirer, with great acclaim. And as for Bram Stoker, what he thought to be an insane work of a depraved madman was in actuality...
a book. Dracula.
Oh, John, would you be so kind as to autograph the latest edition of The Strand magazine? Oh!
May we please proceed?
As for Herbert, our stage door devotee at the Savoy Theatre prudently left his temporary position and rather extraordinarily published his story about time travel.
Herbert George Wells.
Just go by your initials, it's catchier.
The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Righto, Mr. H, isn't it?
As for Mrs. Hudson, our long-suffering landlady of 221B Baker Street made a tidy fortune from running the official Sherlock Holmes tour.
And if you look closely, ladies and gentlemen, you can see on this wall the very initials of our beloved Queen Victoria, spelt out in bullet holes by the great detective himself. Souvenir bullets are available in our lobby gift shop.
And as for the happy collaboration of Gilbert and Sullivan and Doyley Cart...
No.
Yes,
Gilbert, there is no musical problem. The problem is the feeble dialogue in your lyrics. Please,
shut up! It's like the damned carpet all over again.
The less said about them, the better.
And as for Mr. George Bernard Shaw, filling the void left by Jonathan McCarthy, he became London's chief drama critic.
And however irascible, destined for great success, I believe this is yours.
Oh, my walking stick.
Thank you, Holmes. And while I thoroughly enjoy my pulpit as critic, I am toying with a notion for a new play about an eccentric, systematic chap with unusual analytical abilities who lives quite cozily with his ex-military roommate.
A comedy, I presume. No matter. I plead guilty to the first charge. As for the latter, well, I am happy to report I am a confirmed old bachelor and likely to remain so.
Aha! Watson, you know this can never be published.
I know. Besides, I should be obliged to recount our part in the business as well. It could hardly be termed legal.
No, the term would be criminal.
Oh, yeah.
I perceive that some question remains for you. Would you be so kind as to permit me one more deduction?
You just can't help yourself, can you? Phew. Very well.
You are an Englishman, stalwart, loyal, fair, and might I say, forgiving. You are also first and forever a doctor and governed by a tradition of healing. Matching these intrinsically English and ergo Watson qualities, it is a simple surmise. Why did Eccles allow himself to die? Had he taken his own antidote with the zeal he compelled it on?
Yes, he might have survived.
We shall never know his truth. Some men are not only murderers, but also judges, juries, and their own executioners. And in these capacities, they mete out punishments far more severe than the fellow man could devise. No, the West End Horror.
The West End Horror? Good title.
I think so. Is a story for which the world is not prepared.
But dash it all, Holmes, you saved England. And no one knows.
No. No one must ever know, save for my dear friend and invaluable colleague, John Watson. My friend, England is coming to the end of an era. In 2 years' time, we will celebrate Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee, marking 60 remarkable years on her throne. Shortly thereafter, the world will step boldly into a brand new century, bringing us a new monarch and a modern method of crime detection. The melancholy that enveloped me at the outset of this adventure stemmed from a misconception that all my enemies had been vanquished, that there were no new criminals. However, I can now see with bittersweet clarity that modern times will bring modern criminals, and vigilance shall be our cry. But kindly take heart, Watson. For me, at least, this troubling case was also revealing. Particularly this: if the cost for truth is to be a celebrity, if fame is the price that I aim and must pay to carry on as the world's foremost consulting detective, so be it. For while truth's worthy pursuit is eternal, sic transit gloria mundi. All fame is fleeting.
People come and people go, but your stories will live forever. And so it was that in the early morning hours of the 3rd of March 1895, a fire broke out on a deserted mews somewhere behind Whitehall, burning a police wagon and 4 bodies within beyond all possible recognition. Sherlock Holmes had poured kerosene over it, and I had laid on a match as we walked out of the spent night and into the new day.
Hey you, sitting there in your underwear with your greasy hair. You two in your ratty tees eating all the cheese 'cause nobody sees